So I wanted to start by defining illiberal democracy as seen in Central Europe, for example, under the control of Viktor Orban in Hungary. What are its characteristics? In the book, you say that moods and emotions play an important role. And how is it different from neoliberalism and populism?
As you are saying, illiberal democracy is a term that's used by Viktor Orban. He didn't invent it, but he invented its current usage, which seems to be a bit of an oxymoron, because you would expect democracy to be liberal. And that's his point, that you can still have a democracy, but it doesn't have to be liberal. So what does he mean by liberal? I think he means a kind of attitude that it's a free-for-all, like anything goes. And he doesn't want anything to go because his emotion is that he's protecting something. And what he's protecting is the white patriarchal family, I argue, against competition, or as he sees it, wrongly attacks by people of color or people of unconventional, not heteronormative sexual orientations. And so he's against liberalism as he sees it, an ideology that allows a lot of opinions and practices that don't fall into those of the heteronormative white patriarchal family. And how is that democratic? That's because illiberal democracy is a majoritarian way of thinking about society. The majority should get its way. The majority are the normal people. Again, in Hungary, that and many other places, that would be white patriarchal families. And these normal people don't want to be bothered, as he sees it, attacked or interfered with in the running of the country, because they're not the majority. So his view of democracy is the majority should rule. There's always been a tension between democracy and freedom, and he chooses the side of democracy, and that's much more important than freedom, including, for example, human rights. So how is it different from neoliberalism? That's a really good question, and a lot of people are thinking about it. Because neoliberalism, as the neo suggests, is a new form of liberalism. But here we're talking about market liberalism. So that would be about the free market. Right. And neoliberalism is to let the free market work its way. It's neo because it comes after a period when in Western democracies, the welfare state was the model that was at least ideally followed. And so neoliberalism brings back the free market and undoes the welfare state. Yeah. Now, where does Orban's illiberal democracy stand on this is not very clear, because Orban has a kind of limited welfare state, again, on this majoritarian principle, and exclusionary principle doesn't include everyone. So his welfare policies don't at all favor the poorest people, and they don't favor the Roma minority, which is a racial minority in Hungary, but they do favor traditional lower middle class, upper working class families. For example, he gives out quite important financial support to large families. But part of the idea is to make sure that Hungary doesn't need migrants, because the white people of Hungary will reproduce themselves.
I see.
So that's and populism. You asked me to comment on that too. So I think illiberal democracy is a form of populism, but populism is a very broad term. It means that the people should govern, and it sort of despises politicians as intermediaries and encourages direct rule by the people. And on that account, populists could be left-wing or right-wing or nationalists or not. So illiberal democracy, I think, is a specific form of populism, which, if you look at the world, has some similarities to Putin's regime, but I think even more to Donald Trump's idea of what a country should be like. This kind of populist country should not be ruled by professional politicians and
more representatives
more
professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.